All components of the tool must be cleaned with special detergents before they are mounted back. The machine must be air-fed only after checking that the oil tank plug, figure 44, is properly sealed. Perform a few cycles to check the correct operation of the tool, then disconnect the air feed. Use special pliers to remove the tubes, figure 55. Disconnect the high-pressure tubing and check the wear of the oil dynamic connector. Made of two parts, the connector rarely requires maintenance, and therefore it should be dismounted only if necessary. Use a screwdriver to unscrew and remove the silencer, figure 47. Check the wear of the connectors, figure 48. Use a 70 mm wrench to unscrew and remove the cap, figure 7. Then empty the oil tank. Used oil must be disposed of in accordance with international regulation on environmental safety for used oil discard. Check the seal of the oil level window, figure 4. When disassembling the valve group, close the connector, figure 48, with a suitable cap. Then use a 6 mm wrench to unscrew and remove the cap, figure 46. Arrange for a suitable container where to collect all the dismounted parts. Connect the air feed, then set the cylinder, figure 1, onto the container, as shown in the movie. Warning! The machine must be air-fed only after positioning the valve upside down on the container. Serious damages or injuries might derive from the non-observance of this warning. Feed the tool with pressure of 6 to 7 bars and remove the valve group. Disconnect the air feed. Now it is possible to see all the elements of the valve group: 3 casings, figure 36, 3 O-rings, figure 35, a washer stopping spring, figure 33, a valve spacer, figure 34, a spring, figure 37, a coil, figure 38, and a spring guide plug, figure 45. When checking the coil, figure 38, remove the seizure ring, figure 43, using special pliers, the valve piston, figure 41, with an extractor. Check that the O-ring, figure 42, floats on the piston and the O-ring is not damaged, figure 40. It is advisable to replace the O-rings, figures 42 and 40, when overhauling the tool. Insert the piston, figure 41, into the coil and block with seizure ring, figure 43. Check the wear of the valve cap, figure 45, the O-rings, figures 44 and 39, and replace the damaged parts. Grease the spring guide cap and coil and assemble them together with the spring, figure 37. Insert the casing, figure 36, and O-ring, figure 35, in alternate positions. The valve spacer, figure 34, from the side with the highest surface, and finally the washer, figure 33. Use a 5 mm wrench to unscrew and remove the 6 screws, figure 8, which fasten the cylinder head, figure 9. Dismount the cylinder head, check the wear of the O-ring seal, figure 10, and replace it if necessary. Remove the group consisting of pneumatic piston, stem and dampener, figures 25, 23 and 22. Remove the dampener, figure 22, and the outer O-ring, figure 27, from the pneumatic piston. Check that the nut stem, figure 26, is fastened with Loctite number 542. Check the roughness of the stem surface, figure 23, which should be 0.2 Ra. Check the wear of the dampener, figure 22, and insert it so that its raised part faces toward the piston. Also check the wear of the O-rings, figure 27. Warning! Always replace the O-ring, figure 27, when overhauling the tool. Check the roughness of the cylinder surface, which should be 0.2 Ra. Check the valve assembly housing for wear. Grease and push the valve group home inside the body, then remove the rear side of the wrench so as to contain the valve components. Grease the car group, previously assembled with valve cap and spring. Then insert the whole group into the tool body. Last, fasten the valve cap, figure 46. Grease the cylinder and the pneumatic piston with high viscosity grease before assembling them. Fasten the cylinder head in a vise, figure 9. Use a compass wrench to unscrew and remove the stem guide connector, figure 20. Extract the head, figure 9, then remove the sleeving gasket, figure 15, and the gasket stop ring, figure 13. Remove the head from the vise and extract the sleeve booster, figure 11. Check the wear of the O-ring, figure 10. Check that the cap, figure 6, is well closed. Then check the wear of the O-ring, figure 12. Replace damaged parts. In the order, remove from the stem guide, figure 20, the sealing ring, figure 18, the gasket, figure 19, then the inner O-ring, figure 21. Warning: always replace the seals when overhauling the tool. Reassemble the stem guide as follows. Mount the inner O-ring, figure 21, then the gasket, figure 19, ensuring that the seal holding lip is upward. And finally the sealing ring, figure 18. Also check the wear of the O-ring, figure 17. Extract the sealing ring, figure 14, from the sleeving gasket, figure 15, and replace it. Check the wear of the O-ring, figure 16, then mount the sealing ring back, figure 14, ensuring that the seal holder lip is upward. Then insert the gasket stop ring, figure 13, as shown in the movie. Grease and insert the sleeving gasket into the sleeve booster, figure 11, and this into the head, figure 9. Grease and complete assembling. Fasten the assembled parts in a vise. Grease and mount the stem guide, figure 20, onto the head and fasten by means of a compass wrench. Remove the head from the vise and grease it as well as the cylinder stem. Then mount the head, figure 9, onto the cylinder, figure 28, as shown in the movie. Clean and check the wear of the silencer, figure 47, then mount it. Use a 3 mm wrench to unscrew and remove the screw, figure 77, then remove the motor protection, figure 78. Use clamps to remove the feeding tubes, figure 13, from the pneumatic motor, figure 11. Then slip the air conveyor, figure 10, out of its position. Disassemble the pneumatic engine, figure 11, with 19 and 24 mm wrenches. Remove the mare clutch, figure 85, and engine rod. With a 22 mm wrench, loosen the ring nut, figure 16, and remove it together with the head. Pass a pin through the appropriate hole located in the cone carrying head and press inward on it to release the clutch from the tie rod. At the same time, unscrew the tie rod and remove. With a 27mm wrench, release and remove the cone carrying heads, figure 17. Remove the balancing hook, figure 73. Use a 5mm Allen wrench to remove the tank plug, figure 44, together with the hermetic washer, figure 43. Then empty the oil tank. Used oil must be disposed of in accordance with international regulation on environmental safety for used oil discard. Using a 30mm wrench, unscrew and remove the front connector, figure 18. With a 4mm diameter screwdriver, release and remove the adjustment stroke connector, figure 8, together with the spring, figure 7. Use a rubber hammer to tap the rear side of the group to make it exit from the front side of the aerodynamic cylinder. With a hammer, lightly tap the assembly that you have just removed several times in order to eliminate the Loctite. Fasten the aerodynamic cylinder in a vise and use a 17mm wrench to release the nut, figure 23. Fasten a screwdriver in a vise and with a 14mm wrench, release and remove the tie rod sleeve, figure 19. Then the spring, figure 22, the nut, figure 23, the bush for the O-ring, figure 24, the piston, figure 3, and female clutch, figure 4. Now it is possible to see all the elements of the group disassembled. Remove the balsele, figure 1, from the piston, figure 3. Use special clamps to remove the seizure, figure 28, then remove the washer, figure 27, and the balsele, figure 26. Remove the gasket, figure 25, and the parback. Rest the sleeve, figure 19, on the vise and remove the pin, figure 21, along with the clutch, figure 20. Check their wear and, if necessary, substitute the damaged parts. Once verified and cleaned, proceed with reassembly. Check that the roughness of the piston inner surface is 0.2 Ra. Reassemble the balsele, figure 1, ensuring that the holding lip is pointing upwards. Assemble the parback onto the bush, figure 24, ensuring that the concave part is upward. And subsequently the O-ring, figure 25, as indicated in the picture. Then insert the balsele, figure 26, with the holding lip upwards, and the washer, figure 27. Fasten through means of the seizure ring, figure 28. Insert the bush, figure 24, onto the piston. Insert the clutch, figure 4, into the aerodynamic cylinder. Clamp a screwdriver in a vise and insert the assembly. Screw the nut, figure 23, onto the clutch with Loctite number 542. insert the spring, figure 22, into the sleeve, figure 19, and screw onto the clutch. Using a thickness gauge, check that the distance between the nut and aerodynamic piston is between a maximum of 2.8 and 2.9 mm. Fasten the nut, figure 23, and sleeve by means of 14 and 17 mm wrenches. Put protective aluminium jaws onto the vise before fastening the aerodynamic cylinder. Use special pliers to extract the tubes from the handle. Use a 22 mm wrench to release and remove the high-pressure tube with connectors. Then remove the special washer, figure 47, the ending handle connector, figure 59, and the handle, figure 45. Remove the O-rings, figure 46. Finally, remove the aerodynamic cylinder from the vise. Slip the pin out, figure 38, and remove the control button, figure 39. Then disassemble the valve body assemblies, short, figure 81, and long, figure 82, using a 13 mm socket wrench. For both valves, disassemble the control button, figure 30, with a pair of pliers, and slip out the O-ring, figure 31, in order to remove the valve piston from the valve body. Check the wear and, if necessary, substitute damaged parts. Reassemble the valve body assembly. Mount the two bodies, figure 81 and 82, onto the hand grip, taking care to mount the short valve structure, figure 81, in the upper hole. Then secure by means of a 13 mm socket wrench and Loctite number 542. Mount the control button, figure 39, on the hand grip, inserting the appropriate pin, figure 38. Check the perfect conditions of the guide tube sleeves, figure 83, and of the relevant inner O-rings. Mount the O-rings, figure 46, back in their seats, greasing them to help fastening. Fasten a 19 mm wrench in a vise, then fit the high-pressure tube connector into the wrench. Use a 15 mm wrench to release and remove the complete rotating connector. Fasten the rotating connector, figure 50, in a vise. Use a 19 mm wrench to free it from the Loctite and remove it from the reduction, figure 54. Fasten the fixed connector, figure 52, in a vise. Then use a 6 mm wrench to release it and remove it from the connector, figure 49, together with the rotating connector, figure 50. Remove the O-ring, figure 51, then separate the rotating connector from the fixed one. Check the wear of the 3 O-rings, figure 51, and replace them if necessary. Reassemble all parts after checking the wear. Grease the fixed connector and insert it into the rotating connector. Then mount the O-ring. Check the O-ring, figure 48, fasten the connector, figure 49, in a vise and fasten it to the rotating connector by means of Loctite number 542. By means of a 6 mm wrench, screw the fixed connector as much as it is needed to allow for the correct rotation of the connector. Check and replace the O-ring, figure 53. Apply Loctite number 542 to the reduction, figure 54, then fasten it onto the rotating connector through means of 19 and 24 mm wrenches. Fasten a 19 mm wrench in a vise and fit the rotating connector into the wrench. Apply Loctite number 542 to the high-pressure tube connector, then fasten it onto the rotating connector by means of a 15 mm wrench. Check that the roughness of the aerodynamic cylinder inner surface is 0.2 Ra, then insert the cylinder, figure 29, in a vise. Check the wear of the connectors, figure 57, as well as of the O-ring seats. Mount the handle, figure 45, and the ending handle connector, figure 59, onto the aerodynamic cylinder. Then insert the special washer, figure 47. Apply high viscosity grease and Loctite number 542 and insert the connector into the handle, then fasten by means of a 22 mm wrench, having care not to hit the two tube holding connectors, figure 57. Insert the tubes, figure 58, into their connectors, taking care not to invert them, and remove the cylinder from the vise. Grease and insert the aerodynamic assembly through the front side of the cylinder. Insert the spring, figure 7, into the rear adjustment stroke connector, figure 8, and check the wear of the O-ring, figure 9. Fit the components onto the aerodynamic cylinder, ensuring that the distance between cylinder and connector is about 4–5 mm to enable the piston to move. Then screw on using a 30 mm wrench and secure the front connector, figure 18. Insert the engine feeding tubes, figure 13, on the hand grip. Insert the conveyor, figure 10, and the female clutch, figure 85, on the pneumatic engine. And screw the latter onto the aerodynamic cylinder. Secure the engine using 19 and 24 mm wrenches. Then insert the air line into its seat. Lastly, insert the feeding tubes into the relative connectors. Since the engine is a commercial item, in the event of malfunction, contact FAR SRL Service Department. Insert the fast connector, then insert the Russell-made tubes in their connectors, taking care not to invert them. Connect the compressed air and fit the tool with pressure of 6 to 7 bars to detect any possible leakage in the points indicated in the movie. Disconnect the air feed. Screw the tank plug, figure 43, with its washer onto the handle, then connect the air feed and perform a few cycles to verify the correct pneumatic functioning of the tool. Check that the tie rod sleeve, figure 19, is integral to the engine and that both rotate freely. Also check that the tie rod sleeve has an axial movement of about 1 mm. Disconnect the air feed, unscrew and remove the cap on the booster, figure 7, as well as the plug on the handle, figure 43, and loosen the connector, figure 8, completely. With the tool at the same level as the booster, fill the tool with oil as shown in the movie. The topping up of the tank should be ended when oil starts exiting without air bubbles from the plug hole on the tool handle. Replace the washer, figure 42, on the oil tank plug, figure 43, and screw the plug with a 5 Nm couple. Temporarily close the booster cap, figure 7. Feed the riveting tool with a 6 to 7 bar pressure. Keep the tool upside down and make it perform a few cycles. Disconnect the air feed. Remove the booster cap and the handle plug. Top the oil tank up to the maximum level. Screw the handle plug onto the handle as previously shown and screw the booster cap. Fit the tool and check that the stroke is about 7 mm. Then definitely fasten the booster cap by means of a 17 mm wrench. Tighten the adjustment stroke connector, figure 8, and keep the control button pressed down long enough to detect any possible leakage in the points indicated in the movie. Disconnect the air feed and mount the engine guard, figure 78, fixing it with the corresponding screw. And lastly, the balancer hook, figure 72. With a 27 mm wrench, secure the cone carrying heads, figure 17, onto the connector, figure 18. Insert the supplied pin into its seat. Insert the chosen tie rod with the hexagonal slot facing inward and screw on. Pull the pin out and screw on the tie rod fully until it is secure. Release the pin and slowly turn the tie rod anti-clockwise until it couples perfectly with the clutch. Proceed to mount the head of the rotative ring nut, figure 16. Fit the tool. Place the insert on the tie rod and push slightly on it so as to make it clamp automatically. Check that the head of the insert rubs with the tool head and that the tie rod protrudes from the insert by about 2 mm. Fasten the ring nut, figure 16, using a 22 mm wrench and regulate the stroke in order to establish the correct tightening of the insert on the thickness used. Warning! A wrong adjustment of the riveting tool stroke may cause a faulty clamping of inserts and may break the tie rod. Perform a few cycles to check the correct operation of the tool.